So if you're holding the Capital One Venture X, then you need to maximize the 7 insider tips I'm going to share with you to maximize your benefits. Just make sure to stick around for tip number 6, which already helped me save hundreds of dollars this year alone. But without further ado, let's start off with tip number 1, which is adding an authorized user for free. So one of my favorite benefits is adding authorized users, and with the Venture X, you can add up to 4 of them for free, plus they get lounge access. Most cards out there, like these American Express cards, charge to add an additional person to your credit card, but this Capital One Venture X does not. And if you stick around, I'm going to show how you can use this feature to maximize your travel and get more points. So I'm using this feature by adding my brother, so whenever he travels, he could get lounge access, even if he's not with me, or if he even forgets the card because he already enrolled in Priority Pass. So I'm adding my brother to this, so even if he's not traveling with me per se, he can still use lounge access even if he forgets the card because he already enrolled in lounge access. Great way to spread out the benefits to your friends and family if you choose to do so and spread some of the love. But if you're like me and you want to avoid paying this full $395 annual fee, which you can see that just showed up on my annual statement, then consider using this benefit, which is a $300 annual travel credit. So recently I've been booking all of my travel through the Capital One portal, and this $300 credit is automatically applied. So pro tip, the first time I used this, I was so confused because the credit didn't show up as a separate charge like it does for American Express or a separate credit. However, it was automatically deducted from my overall bill in the Capital One travel portal. So let's say you book a $500 trip, you're only going to see the $200 charged because it's automatically going to be taken off. This year, I plan on using this for a weekend getaway to practically wipe out the annual fee. So before I reveal tip number 3, I want to share with you your first bonus hack. So we should all know that you get 10x miles on hotels and rental cars booked through the Capital One travel portal, but here's what you probably don't know. So you can book a trip using cash to get the 10x miles when you book through the travel portal, but then you could use your miles to redeem for a statement credit to ultimately cover that charge. So you're basically using your miles for 1 cent per point using this feature I'm going to show with you here, but you're ultimately getting the 10x benefit at the same time. It is such a good hack. Let me know in the comments if you knew about this or if you didn't, and let's keep going. Important to note, it has to be booked through the travel portal or it has to be coded as a travel purchase. Otherwise, it's going to show up like this saying, hey, you don't have any travel purchases that we could possibly cover with your points and miles, so it needs to be coded correctly. Okay, so this next thing I share is very important because if you mess this up, then you might get charged the annual fee and you might miss out on all of your benefits without even realizing it, which is marking down specific dates on your calendar, whether you actually do this pen and paper or you do it like me and you simply just put it in your Google Calendar and mark it off so it comes up. I am pretty traditional as well. I do also have a paper calendar in case my phone is ever dead or I just can't get access to the internet. I don't want to have that anxiety of missing an important payment or missing an important date because ultimately you can miss out on the benefits. And keep in mind, here are some specific dates that I recommend keeping on your calendar. First up is the minimum spend, because if you don't make this deadline, then you're missing out on $750 in travel, which is a big point of getting this card in the first place. Typically, you have around 3 months to meet the spend requirement unless you achieve some secret level that I haven't really heard of. So I recommend maybe 2 to 3 weeks putting out on your calendar to see where you're at on this spend requirement and make sure you don't miss out. So I learned the hard way with a different credit card. It wasn't the Capital One Venture X, but it was the American Express Platinum. I missed out on my hotel collection $200 travel credit because I miscalculated the dates when it was set to expire. So next up is more on a positive note, which is redeeming your travel for thousands of dollars of free flights, hotels, and much more, which is utilizing the transfer partners. So this is where you can take your points and turn them into serious value. So I could probably do a better job at redeeming my travel, so if you have some tips, please drop them below. But you could redeem for things like Air Canada and other big flights to ultimately get more cents per point on a value redemption. Let me explain it in an easier way. So typically when you book in the Capital One travel portal, at face value, it may cost, let's say 90, 100, 110,000 points for a good seat or a first class flight in the United States to travel. But if you were to transfer these points to what's called a travel partner, you could see maybe 30 or 40,000 points on the high end redeemed with Capital One to ultimately get maybe the same amount of points on a transfer partner to get much better value when you book your flights. Because a lot of these companies have what's called transfer bonuses, so certain days or certain months throughout the year, your points with Capital One are worth more points on the hotel and the flight side to get more value per cent. The value is truly insane if you do it the right way. I mean, you could get about $4,000 to $5,000 worth of travel for only 60 or 70,000 Capital One points. So this brings us to bonus hack number 2, which is getting approved for the Capital One Venture X. Inspired by this comment here, most people are getting denied for the card despite having an amazing credit score and a super high income. So my biggest recommendation for this is make sure you're spacing out your hard inquiries and your credit card applications by at least 6 months. This is a super premium travel card, and they are going after a high value client, so they don't want to see someone who's applying for a ton of cards at once or has gotten many cards in the past few months. On top of this, you can try this little bonus hack. Most people don't realize, but Capital One did release a pre-approval tool for the Venture X. Simply navigate to this link here, and you can see if you have an offer or if you are approved for the card or pre-approved for the card without impacting your credit score. I always recommend doing this because why apply for a card if you don't have any shot of being approved? But more on this towards the end of the video. And if you are doing this and thinking about traveling, which you probably are with your points, you need to make sure you're doing the next few things if you want a chance of getting in the lounges and maximizing your airport benefits, which is taking advantage of your Priority Pass membership. So one of the biggest perks with Capital One Venture X is having the ability to have a Priority Pass membership, but this has to be activated in the portal. You want to make sure to activate this immediately because I've seen it take up to 2 weeks to process. I use this benefit with American Express Platinum, not on my Venture X card specifically. However, it is the same sort of deal. Basically, Priority Pass is a network of lounges that allows you to go into different things that aren't necessarily co-branded to your credit card. For example, let's say there's no Capital One lounge or an American Express lounge, and you don't really have a place to go in the airport. You could go to what's called a Priority Pass specific lounge in their network that may be something like an escape lounge or just an airport specific lounge, but Priority Pass will grant you access. The cool part about this is once you enroll, you'll get a card like this that you could basically just put in your wallet like I do and carry it around with you. So if you're ever in a pinch and you need to use it, you can simply just show it to them at the lounge, or even better, you could use your digital membership, which comes when you enroll in the Capital One portal. And don't forget, your authorized users also get this benefit, which is why I recommend adding one immediately, and which is why I put it in the beginning of the video. But if you want to get actual cash value on one of your benefits, the next one is probably for you. So tip number 6, and probably the biggest one that gets overlooked, is taking advantage of the cell phone insurance that comes with your Capital One credit card. So basically, all you have to do is pay for your phone on your credit card, and if your phone gets lost, stolen, or damaged, Capital One will refund or reimburse up to $800 for a replacement. Simple. Pay your phone bill on your card. If it gets stolen at the airport, if it gets broken, kids drop it, kids kick it, wife punches it, you simply get it replaced on behalf of your credit card. So if you just do one of those for the year, hopefully you're not breaking your phone often, but that gives you a crazy amount of value up front. Important to note, there is a $50 deductible to use this benefit. However, it's insignificant granted the amount of value it gives you. Also important to note, to keep this coverage active, you do need to pay your phone bill every month because Capital One will double check this information. Finally, let's talk about how to get free rental cars, which I love to do, which is Hertz President's Circle membership. So one of the biggest reasons to get these travel credit cards in the first place, so if you're not maximizing it, you need to make sure you do this immediately, but is to enroll in the hotel and more importantly, the rental car elite memberships, so you immediately get status with those companies. American Express uses National Rental Car and Capital One prioritizes Hertz. It's a game changer. Not only do you skip the line at the rental counter and literally pick out your own rental car, most of the time it's an upgraded car, but you get major discounts, you get treated like royalty, and it's completely free with the card, so make sure to enroll now. Super important to note, you have to enroll for this feature, so if you're not enrolled and you try to pull up to Hertz and say, hey, I was elite status, what the heck is going on? I have this Capital One Venture X. They're pretty much going to laugh at you because on their end, all they see is your status. They don't really know what it came from. So you have to go to the credit card portal on your Venture X, and you ultimately have to enroll in this. I'll put a little graphic here so it's easy to follow and understand. By doing this, you could also take advantage of adding on additional drivers at no extra cost, which could save you hundreds depending on how many people you're traveling with, because this is an additional expense. Which brings us to bonus hack number 3, and super important to make sure that we go over this. First thing to go over is Capital One Venture X is losing the Hertz President's Circle membership on December 31st, 2024. So come January 1st of 2025, can't believe it's almost 2025, you're no longer going to have this benefit. So it's super, super, super important to make sure you're enrolled now. And better yet, here's a little secret tip to get status with all of the other rental companies for free. To put it simply, if you're a President Circle status with Hertz, you automatically get status with all of these other rental companies. All we simply have to do is enroll in status match, which I'll show you now. So for example, let's say we're status matching with National Rental Car, which is one of my personal favorites. You simply fill out this form on their website. You enter in your ID number from the other rental car statuses. In our case, it would be Hertz. And boom, you get matched to their top level tier as well. Important to note, you can do this with a bunch of different companies as well as hotel partners and flight partners as well. So this is a great hack to have under your sleeve. And before I wrap things up, I did throw in a bonus tip. So consider this bonus tip number 8, which is activating your global entry or TSA pre-check credit. $100 credit every 4 years. And if you haven't taken advantage of this, I strongly recommend you do so to skip the line at the airport and major stadiums. One time, me and my girlfriend were traveling. I had pre-check, she didn't. She ended up having to sprint to the airplane. I actually had to hold it. No idea how I did that, but ultimately I was able to get through security really quick. And she had to get stuck on the backed up security line, which almost made us miss the flight and cost us thousands of dollars. So it's worth having, and it's super easy to get considering you have to just enroll in it here, pass a simple background check, and better yet, your credit card is going to pay for it. So there you have it. Those are the 7 must-do tips with your Capital One Venture X that you need to take action on immediately. From lounge access to travel credits, this card has so much to offer. Plus, there's way more I can include, but it probably wouldn't fit in one video. So make sure you smash that subscribe button if you want to make more, save more, and raise your credit. And before we go, let me know in the comments what your favorite perk is with the Capital One Venture X. Mine is probably a tie between the rental car elite status, believe it or not. I love cars, so I love to rent cars when I go on vacation, and getting the free upgrade to me is kind of like a kid in a candy store, so that's worth it, as well as the annual travel credit. But I want to know yours. Let me know below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.